Week 13 is here, and we're talking about the path to the playoffs. We're gonna be reviewing the Chargers, Steelers, Ravens, and Colts schedule coming right out.
Renegade.
Yo guys, my name is Sunny. Welcome to SCG Sports. This video is a series of videos that I'm gonna be doing about the path to the playoffs for the Ravens, right? So this week 13, I'm gonna start with 538. For those of you that don't know what 538 is, it's like an analytical website. It gives you stat or statistical projection about a lot of things, including politics or whatever. But the only thing I care about is the sports side. So in the sports side, currently they have the Ravens as the 6th seed making the playoffs. And they have them at the 46% chance of making the playoffs. That's pretty good, but that doesn't mean anything. Last year, I think we were like 80% going to week 17, and I don't need to bring anybody's nightmares back about what happened last year. So, now, the Steelers lost to the Denver Broncos last week. That opened the door for the Ravens potentially to win the division. So, I'm going to start with the Steelers record, or Steelers projected record, and then we'll go from there with the Chargers, Colts, and I'm gonna be leaving the Ravens schedule for the end. Okay, guys. So as you can see here, the Steelers have the Chargers this week, so a big game this week on Sunday night. Then they have Oakland, New England, the Saints, and the Bengals. So this is what I'm predicting. I think they're gonna win against the Chargers this week, and it's because the Chargers are going on the road to Pittsburgh, so West Coast trip. So both teams are pretty good. So West Coast trip, a team that is a warm weather team going to a cold city. I don't know. I don't think. I don't see the Chargers pulling it. I think it's going to be a good game. They could win, but I think the Steelers will take that one. It's disgusting for me to say it, but I think the Steelers will take that one. So then the Oakland, I think they're going to destroy Oakland. I don't think we need to talk a little bit more about that, right? So then the Patriots, and the Patriots game is at home. Now, the Patriots have their number. I think the Steelers might be a little bit better team, but I think the Patriots are a smarter team, if that makes sense. The Steelers might be a little bit better, but the Patriots are a smarter team. The Steelers, when they play with the emotions, they tend to make mistakes. The Patriots need to win that game to maintain either that second or potentially first place on the whole conference, right? So I think the Patriots are going to play hard. I think the Patriots will win that game, so I'm giving the L to the Steelers. Then they're playing the Saints at New Orleans. I think New Orleans, that game, probably still fighting for the number 1 seed, or they're currently losing to the Cowboys. If they're in the 2 seed, they might be just trying to lock that 2nd seed. Now, that being said, the Rams still have to go to Chicago this year. I think that might be a loss for the Rams in a cold weather city. So the Saints still might be fighting for that number 1 seed in the conference. So I think in New Orleans, the Steelers will lose. Finally, to the Bengals. Again, I don't think we need to discuss too much. At this point, they don't even have Andy Dalton. Although I don't think Andy Dalton is this great of a quarterback, it's certainly better than the backup, right? So that gives the Steelers 10-5-1. I don't think the Ravens are gonna be 11-5. I don't think we're gonna sweep the whole schedule. I would like to. So is there a potential? Yeah, yes. Is the door open? Yes. It's just a little crack. We're barely enough to see. So it's not that I'm conceding the division. I just think, and that Chargers to Steelers is a very important game, because if you have a thought about either the 5th seed or the division, that will tell you, right? It's the Steelers win, I think the possibilities of us winning the division is diminished. Now, if they lose, the door got a little bit more open, especially if we beat the Falcons. So that's the Steelers' prediction, in my opinion. Let's go to the Chargers. So the Chargers, again, they play the Steelers this week. I already said I think they're going to lose the West Coast trip. It's just, it's a good team. I don't think they're going to win. Now, then, as you can see, they're going to be facing Cincy at the Chargers. I think that's a total annihilation. Chargers is going to probably destroy the Bengals. Then they play Kansas City. In Kansas City. This is a marquee game. And this will also determine the game against the Ravens, and I'm gonna explain that a little bit later when I talk about the Ravens schedule. But I think they're gonna lose to Kansas City. The Chargers are having problems in their division, although Oakland again is a trashy team. But they lost to Denver. They already lost to Kansas City in LA. I think Kansas City is still gonna be fighting for that number one in the conference. They want to keep that in Arrowhead. I don't see them winning. I think it's not that they cannot beat them. I just don't see them winning. So L for that. Then to Baltimore, it's the same issue that I have going for them going to Pittsburgh. I think Baltimore going to the Chargers. I don't know. I think the Chargers will win. I do think Baltimore has a chance, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in the back end of the video when I talk about the Baltimore Ravens schedule. And then to the Broncos. So against the Broncos, they lost one in the Chargers stadium. I think it's the StubHub Stadium. So going to Denver, even if Denver's out, they want to play spoilers so bad. So I think they will lose that game. And not only that, I think at this point, you see the record 10-6. I think at that point, they're probably locked in the 5th seed. And if they're locked in the 5th seed or in the playoffs, they might just rest anybody that's a little nick. So Melvin Gordon has been dealing with injury. He might sit down that game. If Bosa's a little injured, he might sit down. If any of the receivers is a little injured, they might sit down. The Chargers have been close to making the playoff, but not making it. That I think as soon as they make it, and they have been decimated with injuries in the past, so as soon as they make it, they're going to play a little careful with their guys that are a little hurt and rest them. And I think that's also a reason why Broncos will be motivated to just destroy the Chargers, although I don't think there's going to be destruction. But I think they're going to be motivated to just take them out, and the Chargers are probably going to be resting players. That's what I think. So that puts them at 10-6. Going back to the Ravens, that means the Ravens cannot have to only lose one game. More possible to make that 5th seed if that game is not against the Chargers, right? If they lose against Kansas City and so on. But we'll talk about again in the Ravens side of the video. Now we go to Indy. The Colts, and me and Baltimore don't like the Colts particular, but I think right now, as the standing stack, well, they're the only team that is currently tied with us, right? With 6-5. Tennessee's 5-6, Denver's 5-6, Miami's 5-6, and I might be missing somebody else, but at least those 3 teams are 5-6. I don't think neither of those 3 teams should. Oh, Cincy. I don't think none of those 4 teams are gonna contend. Cincy is just gonna fade away. Miami's gonna fade away. Titans, I think they're very inconsistent. I think they might win 2 more games. I think they're gonna be 7-9, and I think Broncos are probably gonna be 7-9. So the Colts and the Ravens, I think, are gonna be battling for the 6th seed. So they play the Jaguars this week. I would love if the Jaguars would show up. I don't think they will win. I think the Colts will take it. I actually don't even know what happened to the Jaguars other than Blake Bortles. The backup quarterback, his name is escaping me. He's starting the game. I'm hoping he sparks the team and they take the W, meaning they as the Jaguars, but I don't see it. I think the Colts will win this game. Then they go to Houston at Houston. Houston looking to take that, put a stamp in the division and win that division. So I think they will lose that game. And then they play against Dallas. Again, Dallas is fighting for a playoff spot at that point, trying to win that division. So I think they will lose that game. I think Dallas is a little bit better than the Colts. And then the Giants, I think even though they're playing at home against the Giants, I just think the Giants, even though they want to play spoiler, if the Giants are smart, they probably got to be benching Eli, and that could be good, but I don't see them beating the Giants. And we already know, even though it's in Tennessee, the Colts destroy Tennessee and Indy. I don't think Tennessee's winning that game. So that means 9-7. But not only that, if let me read you also something. Current Colts record is 5-4. In my prediction, I'm giving 5-4 in the conference. In my prediction, I'm giving them a 2-1 in the conference. A win against Jacksonville, loss against Houston, and win against Tennessee. That puts them at 7-5. Why is that important? If we tie with the Colts, it's a head-to-head. Well, we didn't play them, right? And then the next tiebreaker is common opponents. You need 4 of them. We don't have them. We only have 2. We play Tennessee, and they play, I think, was the Browns. Could have been the Bengals. But anyway, common opponents, we don't have enough for that one. And then the third tiebreaker is strength of schedule. So we as the Ravens cross AFC West, which has KC, which will have a good record, and the Chargers will have a good record, and the Broncos will have a serviceable record, and Oakland will be trashy. And then we cross the NFC South, right? And the NFC South currently is Saints, really good team, Panthers, fairly good team, and then Tampa and Atlanta, they don't have the greatest of record. Okay. So what did the Colts cross? So they AFC East, so Patriots good record, and after that it's just a bunch of garbage. And then the NFC East, that is, well, that's a very inconsistent division. Cowboys will win that division probably, and then the Eagles may contain, may not, and then the Redskins are going to fade away, and the Giants are non-existent. And last but not least, their own division, right? In their own division, you have Houston, which is a good record. They don't count. And then Jacksonville currently is trash, and then Tennessee will be fairly good. And in our division, Steelers with a good record, we don't count. Bengals are probably going to be 6-10, and the Browns are going to be, I think, better than the Browns, but better than Jacksonville, but not as good, or still a 4 seed. They're probably going to be 6-9-1. So division-wise, let's call it a wash, but the conference we're crossing are tougher than the ones that they're crossing. Of course, we have to wait for the end of the year to have that whole calculation, but I think that's what is going to give the edge to Baltimore. So now, that being said, let's talk about the Ravens' schedule going forward. Okay, so schedule, as you can see, we have the Atlanta this week. I think that's a game that we need to win, that we should win. Every AFC North team has beaten Atlanta. The Falcons haven't won against them. They lost the Browns, Bengals, and Steelers. We're the last team that they're facing. So, I think we should win that game. I don't see them having Lamar or an answer for Lamar. There's a link coming above. You can check. That's my preview video of the game against Atlanta. So then, Kansas City, I don't see us beating Kansas City in Arrowhead. It's going to be a tough game. Although we should move the ball. And there's a possibility of us winning. I don't give us a 0% chance. But if we're realistic, I think it's our hardest game in the schedule. So I'm going to give us a loss in that one. Tampa, we should beat Tampa. Who knows who the quarterback is? Because a week is Fitzmagic, another week is Winston. They just shuffle people around. Who knows, right? They're all over the place. They're a good offense. Their defense is horrible. Our defense is good. It should slow them down, and our offense should be good enough to beat that or to win that game. Then we go to the Chargers, and this is why now I'm going to put the caveat that I was talking about in the Chargers game. If you see how the Chargers season is constrained, so there's two scenarios for the Chargers. If the Chargers win, that means our possibility of the 5th seed is pretty much down the drain. But what that opens the door is, at that point, they're trying to get the division, right? On week 15, they played Kansas City just before us. I think Kansas City's still going to beat them. So at that point, they have a cushion for the 6th seed. They lost the division. I think they're going to start resting people for the game against the Ravens. Even though I still think they could potentially win against the Chargers, although I have a loss there, that will make it easier, right? Because if they're having any injury, they're going to just be overly cautious. They haven't made the playoffs in a while. They think they can make noise. It's irrelevant if they get the 5th or 6th seed, but in theory, they have the 5th seed locked. I think they're probably going to play it safe, and that might bring us a W. But how I have it, we have a loss. And the other scenario is if the Steelers win, well, then the Chargers probably need this game. Because at that game, we're going to be tied with the Chargers. Losing against the Steelers, that puts them in danger of slipping, right? Meaning that game against Baltimore becomes very important for them. Again, I think we can beat them. But because it's in LA, I'm giving them the edge currently. Wait for my video when I break them down. And like I said, I'm going to do these videos every week. And then against the Browns, we need to win. I'm hoping this is not a deja vu that we lose the last game of the season and we don't make it. But we need to win. And there we have 9-7 as the current scenario that I have. Again, the Steelers and Chargers game will tell us a lot moving forward. So the next week when I do this video, it's gonna give you a more clear path, especially us winning against Atlanta. Caveat: if we're gonna take 2 losses, the best loss to take is flipping the Chargers loss with somebody, or the Kansas City loss with Atlanta or Tampa. Why? Because that gives us an edge over the Colts in the conference record, as I'm predicting currently the Colts schedule. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Are we making the playoffs? What is our record? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter at SCG Sport. Again, I'm going to be making the series of video weekly, Path to the Playoffs. I'll see you next time, guys.